Okay, we're going to call back to order the Hood River City Council meeting. We had an executive session from 5:30 to 6. And so we are calling the meeting back into order that isn't executive session. And we're going to do first of all, I want to remind everyone to turn off or silence your cell phone. And then we're going to do the land acknowledgement and the pledge. And right after that, we'll go into urban renewal meeting. As we meet tonight, let us all remember that today we are stewards of land that has been home to Indigenous peoples for thousands of years before the recent arrival of the European heritage dominant culture. We honor this land's ancestors as we go about our business today. And then we'll do the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now we're going to recess our city council meeting and at 6:03, and we're going to open the Hood River Urban Renewal Agency meeting at 6:03 and call that to order. Do we have any agenda additions or corrections this evening?
Mayor, we do not.
Okay. So business from the audience is next. If you're signed up for the Urban Renewal Agency. And I do have a couple of people that are signed up for that. So if you could each take just 3 minutes apiece. Joy Kloman.
Hi, thank you, Mayor and City Council. I'm Joy Kloman, and I'm the owner of Joy's Art Studio. And I've lived in the Heights for over 16 years, and I've owned my business for 7 years. And I'm here to ask you to please take the businesses, parking, and weather into consideration while planning the Heights Urban Renewal Project. The current proposal to make 13th Street a busy two-way thoroughfare negatively impacts at least 14 businesses, including mine. Eliminating on-street parking on the west side of 13th Street will be detrimental for the retail businesses and the restaurants on the west side of the street. The east side of 13th Street has neither retail businesses nor restaurants, and it has 4 parking lots with street access. I also remain concerned about how snow will be handled during the winter months. Clearing the snow plowed from the road onto our doorsteps is already a challenge. As a Heights resident, I often cycle or walk to work in the spring and summer, but in the fall and the winter months, using a vehicle is more suitable due to the cold, snowy, rainy, and freezing weather. So please consider historical weather conditions, parking, and supporting Hood River's small businesses in your Heights urban renewal planning. Thank you.
Mark Moores.
Good evening. I'll be very quick. I'm a resident of the area just south of the Indian Creek Trail. And I looked at the maps that the URAC had built, I think 3 or 4 meetings ago. And I wondered whether the 8th Street trailhead, which is south of Indian Creek Ravine, had been considered as a jumping off point for a suspended bridge to go to the 8th Street that's on the north side of the ravine for bicycle and foot traffic. I think you could run a wire bridge across there that would make a nice joining between the neighborhood around the elementary school and the neighborhood that's currently around sort of Horizon Christian. I wasn't sure if I should present that here or to the meeting last night, so I opted for this evening. Thank you. That's it.
I'm going to actually answer that question. I don't usually do this, but I know that we have discussed that in the past during, I believe it was an update of the transportation system plan. And so it has been looked at to some extent. And the estimate, I believe, was over $1 million to build that bridge. And that was, I believe it was taken off the list. And that was the reason, because it was so costly. So I just want to let you know, we have looked at that. It was many years ago, but I was here during that time. All right, those are the two people that we have for business from the audience for urban renewal. We have, well, there is nothing on the consent agenda this time. Psych. Regular business items, intergovernmental agreement with the city of Hood River for the feasibility study and district formation for a potential West Side urban renewal district. Abigail?
Thank you, Mayor. This is one of those funny, you have to be careful which hat you're wearing. So as you remember, we are studying, we have a feasibility study with Elaine Howard for a possible urban renewal district on the west side. In fact, the project team met with Elaine last week. We had a great meeting, looking forward to working with her. But the urban renewal district doesn't exist right now. So in order to do this study, we have budgeted funds in the general fund that would be paid back by the urban renewal district if it is created. But in the meantime, we need an IGA between the two organizations. So you see this here. You will also see this on your consent agenda for the city council meeting tonight. Deborah Phillips, the urban renewal attorney, wrote this IGA. So I'm here if you have any easy questions. If not, if it's a technical question, I'll need to have Deborah or Dan weigh in. But I think I have a suggested motion on the memo.
Didn't have any questions. You guys have any questions?
I think this is a fairly routine thing and I think the city has done this a number of times before.
Okay. Any objections? I'll discuss this quite a bit in the past. Mark? Nothing? Okay.
Then I would like to move that we authorize the Urban Renewal Agency Board Chair to sign an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Hood River to pay for and administer the contract with Elaine Howard LLC on the agency's behalf.
So Megan's made a motion, and Jessica has seconded that motion to authorize the Urban Renewal Agency Board Chair to sign an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Hood River to pay for and administer the contract with Elaine Howard LLC on the agency's behalf. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays? Abstentions? Chair votes aye. All right. And our next item is the purchase of additional parking stations. And our Public Works Director, Rich Rice, is going to talk about that a little bit.
Yes, sorry for not being there, a little under the weather. Yeah, so this one should also be fairly easy. It's basically, I guess, the last phase to replace all of the old Dunkin' coin meters in the city. So it's a budgeted item. It's already budgeted for. And they'll be installing 16 new, they're called Flowbird parking stations, formerly Calais. Yeah, not much else to talk about on that.
Okay, any questions for Rich? Megan?
Thanks, Kate, and thanks, Rich. So on the map provided, it looked like there were a number of side streets that only have the parking station on one side of the street versus the other. And I know there's a certain number of parking stalls per parking station calculation, but I'm wondering, and maybe I'm just flagging this for later, like I'm certainly approving this tonight, but only having it on one side of the street feels like it's really incentivizing folks to cross mid block and kind of run in front of traffic to go pay the meter, and kind of complicates compliance. So I'm wondering if am I reading the map correctly? Is that an issue you guys potentially see? Is that something we should plan for the future?
That's a great question. Adam's on as well, maybe to answer that one. I believe it might be due to the location. Hold on, let me look at my map real quick.
I'll jump in, Rich. Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe at the time it was kind of cost versus how much use they were getting on side streets. And at the time, we felt it was best to just go with them on one side of the street. Definitely something we could look into in the future if they needed to be added. But this would complete, I believe this would complete the removal of all the coin-op Dunkin' meters downtown. And then on top of that, we could surplus the Dunkin' meters that we do have as well. So there would be some income from those, and maybe look at adding some to more of the streets with a higher parking density on them.
Yeah, I know last phase we did all the east-west streets, and this one is the north-south. But yeah, we can definitely take note of that.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess it's something, you know, just for the future. I want to make it as simple as possible for folks to, you know,
Yeah,
do this
Yeah.
and hopefully increase safety instead of adding more
sure.
people running across the street, which may be a downtown issue. So just, yeah, I guess I'm flagging it for you and for other folks of something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, absolutely. It does look like North Second Street has them on both sides. But yeah, we'll definitely look at the other ones for sure.
Mark, Mark Sandmiller, do you have a question?
Uh, Two quick things. One is I don't see schedule, but I assume it's by the end of June is the goal.
Yeah. Yep. If we get this signed by the end of this year, we can retain this price. So yeah. So yeah, the goal would be by June. Yep.
And then my second thing is before we surplus the Duncan ones, I have a public art installation idea in my head where people can contribute to the waterfront park by putting as many quarters as they want into Duncan meters. So we should chat before they just go away.
Yeah, definitely reach out because we're not going to surplus them yet. We keep them in storage. So yeah, we'll definitely speak for sure. Yeah.
Cool.
Very cool. Yeah.
Additional questions? Eric?
This guy asked a question, Rich. Because someone asked me this, and I think I know the answer, but since you're here, I'll ask you. The new system still will accept coins, correct? So if people
Yes.
don't have access to a Visa card or whatnot, they can still pay with a coin.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
More questions? No? Okay.
Do we need a motion or there's not one on the staff reports?
Well, this is already in the budget.
Okay, so we're good.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Why don't we go ahead and do it? You want to put together, you wanted to say, you authorize the.
I will authorize the purchase of 16 Flowbird parking stations for $136,000.
And to keep the parking plan alive, I will second that. Yes.
All right. Jessica's made the motion. Mark's made a second.
I'm Megan.
Pardon?
Megan.
You said
Megan.
Jessica made the motion.
I looked at you. I said her name. Okay. Oh, boy. Megan has made a motion and Mark has seconded that motion to authorize $136,000 for additional Flowbird parking stations. All those in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Abstentions? And chair votes aye. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything from agency members? Does anyone have anything else to add for urban renewal? No? Okay. We're going to adjourn our urban renewal meeting at 6:15. And we will go back into our Hood River City Council meeting. And we'll do business from the audience first. Megan Ramey.
So Mark, this is the same handout we got by email, just FYI.
Got it. Looked at it.
No, tap it and it should turn green on the side.
Oh,
There.
great. Okay. Megan Ramey, 1886 Belmont. Dear Hood River City Council and Management, in my job as Safe Routes to School manager for the school district, I have the pleasure of inspiring kids to walk and roll to school, addressing barriers like education, infrastructure, and equity that prevent them from getting to school, not just safely, but in a joyous way. During snow events, like earlier this month, our sidewalks are a significant infrastructure and equity barrier and a public health emergency. In our current state, the sidewalks on a non-snowy day are already a barrier for the students. And then you add a foot of snow and the already poor walking network vanishes, forcing kids, seniors, and those who do not drive to walk in the street. Snowy sidewalks was one of the top 9 themes from parents during that Safe Routes to School planning process. And I included some page references from the city council adopted plan to back that up. The city operations is at the core of this issue because plow drivers are given a directive to push the snow to the curb, similar to what Joy was talking about. And because many of our continuous sidewalks lack a grass berm separating it from the street, most of the key sidewalks in the network end up with 2 feet of heavy icy street snow. And even in our incredibly athletic community, it's impossible to shovel that from your sidewalk. And this pits neighbor, against business, against plow driver, against city. In the meantime, our kids and most vulnerable residents suffer from our lack of action. This is what tackling climate change looks like on a very micro scale, and we need to figure this out for our kids. So I've included some solutions. I would encourage the city to approach this issue first at operations level, then at communications, and as a last resort, enforcement. Number 1, build a coalition that I will happily help with the fire, city, DPW, school district, parks district, to address all the barriers and the benefits with creating a winter walking city. I've included a few examples to steal from other, apparently all of Vermont towns centralized sidewalk management, and the city runs it and does it for the residents. Prioritize winter walking routes for the Safe Routes to School. This map I worked on with Jonathan Sclavengill with the city. This is the Safe Routes to School like base map. The blue lines are the pink library books are schools in the public library, and then the orange lines are contiguous sidewalks in our city. So it doesn't make sense to go after all these streets, but this is what would make like a healthy walking network in the winter. 9.2 miles, that is what those sidewalks amount to. Number 4, lead by example. So the city, school district, and parks district should set a clear example of clear like sidewalks for well-being. And so residents don't shovel in vain. Number 5, special district. Former Mayor Arthur Babbitts told me he wanted to create a special district to centralize the maintenance of sidewalks so you could share economies of scale. And then I included an example from Syracuse City Council who voted to take over sidewalk maintenance from residents last year. Communications similar to the brush, I believe it mail that I got. When brush is overhanging your sidewalk, it would be great if you sent that out to the residents along these routes. And then lastly, as just a final resort is enforcement. And so I thank you guys so much for hopefully maybe prioritizing this in your goal setting. But I just want to say just quickly, I know I'm over, but Miss Kate, Jessica, and Eric. So is this your last? I think this is your last meeting. So thank you so much for your service. But see you guys in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you for your contribution to the community too, in a lot of different levels. All right. We now have a public hearing regarding LS Networks franchise agreement ordinance 2072. This is the time scheduled for a public hearing on ordinance 2072, granting a 10-year non-exclusive franchise to Lightspeed Networks, Inc., doing business as LS Networks, to use, erect, and maintain its facilities in the public right-of-way. We'll now hear the city's staff report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We were here a few months ago doing another franchise agreement, and this one is very similar. I have joining tonight Eden Taylor, who is contract manager with LS Networks. And Dan is on the line if we have questions for him. This franchise agreement is providing right-of-way access for LS Networks. This agreement sets fees, processes, and ensures LS Networks will operate within the boundaries of our engineering standards. This franchise agreement does not specify any locations, and that will happen through additional permitting through engineering. This literally just creates the structure to help LS Networks move to the next step of applying for those permits. Again, I have Eden with us. If you have any questions, please ask.
All right. Is that it, Monica?
Yep.
I just want to make sure.
For now, we're going to
Okay.
have
All right,
conversation.
Megan.
I was hopefully a quick one, but to you and Dan, is this a pretty standard franchise agreement? Is there anything that's out of the ordinary to flag or?
It is not. It's the same one. Dan has reviewed and approved this. It's the same one that he reviewed and approved in March. And this will be our 7th one, actually.
Okay, well then that makes it easy. Thank you.
Additional questions? Mark?
Yeah, thanks. Exciting. So, this is a pretty generic franchise agreement, and I'm just sort of guessing what you're going to do, whether it's laying fiber or adding 5G antennas. I can't quite tell. So maybe a little bit of that. But my question is, I don't see any pointing to exclusivity in here, and I just want to make sure from Dan that that's true.
Typically, these are not exclusive because our public rights of way are open to all comers, all utilities.
So then I guess the question is to Eden is, what are you guys up to?
Yes, my apologies. I'm a little ill, so if you need me to repeat, please let me know. So our main project will be assisting US Cellular in finishing their 5G small cell project. We don't do any small cell or 5G, so we won't be adding to the amount of the plants that you already see or will be popping up shortly in town. But after that point, like for the most part, we do buried fiber. We only do aerial as necessary, and we predominantly provide internet services to areas like schools, hospitals, medical facilities, and some municipal services like courthouses. So after we maintain a good relationship with the city, we would like to provide the option for people to purchase services from us as another internet provider.
Thanks, Eden. Other questions? Anything? Yeah. Megan?
I can make a motion.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Well, in addition to the suggested motion, if you feel there is enough support, we can do the first and second reading in one meeting.
Even if we don't have Gladys?
We don't have a.
Oh, no, we have to have full. Yep.
Nice try.
Yeah.
Trying to trick me.
Nice, nice try.
Oh, we thought we
Thanks,
were
Dan.
going to have everyone.
We
till
thought
just
we
a little
were.
bit ago.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm gonna move to provide first reading of ordinance 2072 by title only during the regular city council meeting.
Megan's made a motion and Tim has seconded that motion to provide a reading for ordinance 2072 by title only during the regular city council meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Chair votes aye. Thank you,
Thanks.
Monica.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate you being there, Eden. Okay, we'll go ahead and open the work session. And do we have any agenda additions or corrections?
No, C is what we've got.
All right. So we have one discussion item, code enforcement. Chief Holste. Okay, first of all, a little bird told me that is your 26th anniversary with the city today. Yay, thank you so much.
It is. Yeah, started my career in 1994, out here. Yeah, 26 years. So that's since I've been here. Like technically my anniversary was last month because we have a weird policy in the city is when you get a new title, you change the anniversary date. So it was kind of weird, wasn't it? We talked about it. So,
Very weird.
yeah.
Well, thank you and congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's been a long time.
Yeah,
I was gonna say we've probably been across it for a long time as far as you as a council member. and
Probably.
planning department. It's pretty
planning
amazing.
commissioner.
Yeah, exactly. So. Well, tonight, I'm gonna bring to you guys, code enforcement, during work plan session. It was one of your guys's, I want to use the word priorities, to look at and kind of evaluate where we're at in, code enforcement within the city. We've heard probably in the last with Megan and a few other things regards to snow. But I wanted to kind of give you an overall snapshot because you probably don't really know or hear much about code. This is probably, I know for a fact, this is the first time I've presented anything related to code, other than maybe potentially changing or tweaking a code that isn't in compliance in the new law or something like that. But this is really the first time as far as speaking in regards to code stats and kind of a show and tell what we do in our community. And I kind of wanted to give you guys a picture of, what we do in the background. Marty is our boots on the ground. He does all the code enforcements regards to the city. We do get calls, like I've given you guys a hard copy of stats. These are hand generated based on, we had to pull those up once we knew you guys wanted some kind of a session in regards to where we look like or what we're doing within the code. So we pulled those, we found past calls for service we call and pulled those out and hand tallied those to kind of give you an overall idea what we're doing. So these are pretty much what Marty does, but also we also get those calls when Marty's not working that law enforcement patrol actually takes and can really handle a lot of those, get there, fix the problem. And when I say that, it could be anything from a vehicle parked in front of a mailbox to a noise. We get a lot, the after hour noise violations and such, which really falls under code. But again, it's part of that job that law enforcement does to help not only state and federal law, but our codes. So that's where we're at. So I just wanted to kind of give you a quick overview. I'm not going to go through every detailed part of the slide because I kind of gave a snapshot on, my whole goal and always have been is compliance. The last recourse is, punishing. I hate even to use that word for these kind of violations. Because in our community, things have changed over the years from when I first started to where we are today. Eric, even growing up here, you would understand that nowadays we have a house in a residential area where someone tears it down, and then they build a beautiful X amount of dollars, where the house to either the left or the right, a gentleman, a family has lived there for 60, 70. We had one up on Hall Street, 80 some years. But a new resident moved into the area. Now we're addressing things that it was his normal livability and the normal process of life. But now someone has chosen to change what they want to see. We've had them down on Columbia, we've had sheds and we've kind of gone into, liability reasons of what we can and can't do. So that's what, a kind of a snapshot on exactly what we're doing here. So what I did is I gave you the statistics and kind of the highs to the lows of what we do as far as numbers. So I just kind of wanted to pull out a few of the high notes and what you see as far as a 5-year trend. Pulled Marty, I'm going to say I a lot. Marty, thank you, Marty. Had pulled the 5-year stats and kind of looked at an average of what we've been doing. And so that's why I wanted to kind of give you the high one. This probably is our number one, and it kind of correlates with code/parking as well. But this is really dialed into the outside, the downtown core. Our parking enforcement really isolates the downtown meters and such. And then a little bit up on the heights when we get complaints regards to parking in certain situations, or Marty will take that on. So this one I kind of want to look at too, because I think Mark might have said one time in one of the council meetings regards to 72-hour notices, the 72-hour park rule. We as a city do not have a ordinance in place that we can have someone move their vehicle in 72 hours. After 72 hours, we don't have that. But what we do have is a code that says at 72 hours, if your vehicle's abandoned, disabled, unlicensed vehicle. So that means we have to determine on these calls, flat tire, does it not have insurance? Are the tags expired? Does it have a windshield that's busted out and it's not a drivable or operable? Or maybe it's just broke down. We have to somehow determine, is it on jacks or wood underneath, the tranny's out or something like that. And so that's really what Marty, when he goes out to these kind of calls, that's what triggers our 72-hour notice. So I know there's a lot of communities, Beaverton's one of them, they do have a 72-hour. And those are the things as you as the policymakers, if that's where we want to go, we will have to tweak our ordinance a little bit to meet that 72-hour rule / we call it today 72 hours period. Ours says 72 hours, abandoned, disabled, such and such. And that's really the difference of it. So I think sometimes people have a realization of, like we can't do anything until we get to find out the abandoned vehicle. And then even then it's a process. We have to contact the owner and then go the process from there on. That actual ordinance is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Marty, it takes 4 citations, parking citations, before we even can tow it per our policy or our ordinances.
If I may interject, then we have to find out the address.
Mark can't hear you if you're not talking up there.
We have to assess where the owner lives, get their address, send a letter out to that address, registered mail, and if it comes back undeliverable, then it would be okay to take it to the next step for towing, impounding the vehicle. If they sign for it, then they have 5 days to respond and correct it. If it's not done within that time period, then we can go forward.
And these are, like you said, abandoned. They don't disable. They're not for someone that is camping in their RV on the street.
Well, there's the fine line is, you have to realize of the difference from camping and disabled. Yeah, someone's not living it. But then you also have to look at, Dan will say is the new homeless law is, someone living, if we know that's their place of residency, that's their domain, that's their home. We've got to really be careful of how we address those. And it's that civil liability to the city of, enforcing something that's actually their domain, their home. So it's not really the fine line to determine in that investigation on, where does that lie? And we do get,
there would be no differentiation between someone that lived here all year in their vehicle versus someone that had all their sports gear in there for 6 weeks in the summer.
we definitely, and that's, I don't want to stereotype anything, but when we get these calls of the camping and such, when we pull up to in a beautiful Sprinter van that we know that's probably worth 6 figures, and they're here just for a week or so or two, we know, the common sense knows they're here on vacation. Usually it's from out of state or a different part of Oregon. And then we do address those and let them know this isn't a camping area. And then we offer the places outside the county or Rowena or Viento, stuff like that. So you do know those in the job, you do know those that are living in it, and it's actually their home to those that are recreating in it, if that makes sense. Pretty common sense for us on the streets. So here's noise violations as far as code. You probably see a spike. When we had COVID, the spike of code enforcement definitely increased due to, we believe, a lot of people being home, hearing, normally not at home, maybe working or such, or not vacationing. I guess that's another huge one, right? And this code enforcement is not only just routine noises, music and such. We get them to where, and I get the calls of maybe someone's heat pump. We had one not too much. Someone's heat pump was squealing. They're not maintaining it. It's broke down. So a neighbor's like, hey, we got to figure this out. This thing's driving us crazy every time the heat pump kicks on. So, it's definitely different than when I say noise, it's a party, right? It's a diverse of stuff that creates noise after 10 p.m. or an obnoxious noise through the day. Others, we kind of broke this down because it did spike, and I asked Marty, what was the others? And as you can see on the right there, that it was an array of different calls for service. I think our number one that really spiked that was we had a section in Hood River that an individual was utilizing every time someone would park in front of a mailbox along this road off of 30th area, we would get the call, and that definitely generates calls pretty quick when people aren't able to get their mail delivered because the U.S. Postal won't if someone's parked in front of it. So it was kind of a block person addressing those concerns, so which is good for us. Overgrown, 2020 was pretty low. I think 2022 is going to be quite higher. I had a little phase there for a while where I think I drove around and picked a few things out that it was definitely needed to be addressed before fire season started, and wanted to make sure those look at. So, and there's the RV campers and trailers. Mayor?
One question on that, the vegetation one. I was looking at, what you do. You give them, you talk to the people, then you give them a citation, whatever it might be. With this overgrown vegetation, I think it said something about putting a lien on the property.
So you can, so the city and the ordinance, the city does allow, if we have to go out and do the actual maintenance work on it, the city can put a lien on someone's property and get that back upon sale.
For the cost of whatever it was to get the vegetation.
Absolutely.
And we will go out there and do that. We have the people to go out and cut that hedge or whatever it is.
Well, it would either be Public Works, and they've done that graciously. We had that issue over the homeless area over by the red carpet. Adam Schmidt, we took it on as a city. We're just going to go do it. We're not going to wait for ODOT. So we do those things. I don't recall of anything. Maybe years ago, we might have addressed something down on Lincoln or Columbia. There was an open lot there that we helped out with the blackberry bushes. But outside that, I haven't seen the city do it. And we try not to get to that point. Our resources are thin, Public Works are thin. Could we use a third party? Absolutely. We could hire someone to come in. Again, we would pay the cost, but then it would be recouped if someone ever chose to sell their house based on the lien. So, and the vegetation, I know we had one we had one near your home where someone bought it, they're out of state, and they want to build a house on it. And as it grows up, one is the fire danger. Two, when it starts to, the ordinance wording, not necessarily pollinate, but seedling. They definitely got to get ahead of it, and that's one of the reasons for this. Is this not creating, wild shrubbery and such in the area? So, people are really good, because there is a lot of lots that people do not live here. Marty will find the registered owner through tax or through the water bill and actually follow up on that. People are pretty good about responding to take care of those fairly quickly. So we've got I don't think anybody that I know of that we've actually had to go to the citation level. We had one not too long ago, but they actually remedied it. So we avoided the citation up to that point. So.
Mayor, I might also add the overgrown vegetation sometimes also becomes a fire hazard, and we can order emergency abatement in those situations. Of course, we do kind of an emergency kind of approach to the property owner and usually get prompt response that way. But it's not just aesthetics or kind of rampant vegetation. Into summer, it's a fire hazard.
And I was thinking of, when I was asking, I guess my mind went to, you come up to a stop sign and you turn right or left and you can't see at all. You're basically completely out in the road before you can see if anything's coming.
Yeah,
it's not trimmed back.
We do work with Public Works on that. There's several places, routinely we know we have to address on several roadways, area of the Belmont, turning left on 12th Street on that corner there, the triangle, there's a shrubbery. So between Public Works and ourselves, we definitely ask for assistance on that. And a lot of those Public Works will go out and actually just take care of them, because we do have that right of way of able to clear that due to view, and just the liability purposes, we do that. So, yeah. Again, this is the RVs parking and such. We've always had a consistent the tourism in our community. a lot of recreational type vehicles come and stay and hang out here. So TRT, short-term rentals, definitely early on when we started that program, Marty definitely dealt with a lot of complaints, wet compliance. They would address that, but now it's quite low. People are very good about keeping in compliance. If we do have something, it's minimal, maybe not having the address on the actual building, and hey, you got to make sure you post it on the side, or maybe a garbage. They have a weekend with a group of people, didn't get the garbage cleaned in time, and then raccoons or our winds blow it over and cause it debris. And Marty's good about addressing that. Again, they're very receptive. They're here and they want to be good customers, or good players in the game. So transient, that one, we'd have 11, 3 the year before in 2020. Those can be very routine as far as returning customers or returning issues, much like the park when we were addressing the park down on Wasco. That can be an incident that we could deal with for weeks at a time, as that one went on quite some time. So we might have 11, but those take such time to process and find the right avenue as far as to assist or move the structure on. So unfounded, again, it kind of falls back on some of that the homeless vehicles that might look abandoned, but this is their home. They have no other place to go. Marty looks at that, addresses it, contacts the reporting person saying, hey, this is what I see. This is why we can't enforce it, or it doesn't fall within our ordinances at the time. So,
What's the definition of unfounded? I'm not familiar with what this.
Unfounded would be a call for service and responding to the call, and it is not in violation of our code or ordinance, excuse me. So, and I think there was a lot of early on educating as laws changed with the homeless and on public right of ways, what we couldn't do. We get the call and say, new laws are in place. This is something we just can't address if we don't have a shelter and such. So these are just the rundown of kind of what we do. Just kind of wanted to give you a snapshot of our process, how we, again, our goal is for compliance. So we don't rush to the notify at this point and then cite 2 days later. We really do want to work together and make things happen without the actual citations or issues. So you saw those in your packet. That was kind of what Marty was saying, where, we send out a registered letter usually on every complaint that we can get a hold of. Kind of allows us to go to that next step. If it returns or they respond, at least we know we can take the next step, that they know of the situation or the issue. Yeah, this is the overgrown. Snow removal would be much the same. We would contact. We have really good compliance in the downtown area as far as snow. We very rarely ever get a concern as far as a complaint, and then we address it. It's taken care of right away in the downtown core. We've got a good group of people. So transit or short-term rentals. Again, that one kind of goes in a segment. First one's always a warning, and then second, third for compliance and citation. So all others, this is the generic, it would fit. So again, it's the certified mail that really triggers for us as far as when we can't get a hold of the owner of the property or business. And that's it. That's kind of where we're at. I know people say that I'd heard that we are only responding to calls that actually have, someone has called us, where we're reacting, but we're actually all, Marty works with the planning and building department and handles code issues through them as well. So he doesn't only just do this stuff. He's working alongside Dustin and that team as far as if someone's not in compliance of some kind of building. I've actually went out to the Von Flotta property and had to post stuff before for back with Cindy. So it's bigger than just the little things that we see on this list. I mean, it's life safety and then building. So questions?
Megan?
I'll kick it off. One, thank you. The general philosophy of getting compliance, I think is great. And I'm wondering, obviously there's a lot of steps to get there for folks. Do we clearly in short-term rentals, there was that specific rule, but for other folks, if they're like repeat offender, do we still go through all of the same steps where I feel like they're kind of just abusing us at that point? Or like if we know like, oh, this one landowner has had a noise complaint every week for the last 5 weeks, like, and it takes us a week to address whatever, because we have to do all the certified mail note, like, is there anything about like an ongoing regular occurrence? Or I'm not asking this right, but
People, I totally understand a repeat offender is what I would call a repeat noise ordinance violation offender or something like that. People are very good at compliance as far as us responding, or they just don't respond, or then we'll address it. But it's you would know more that we could very rarely get a repeat offender as far as having to address them over and over again.
Yeah, for example, with short-term rentals is a good example. Normally, we don't get past the third offense because on the second offense and third offense, they're coming into court, into municipal court and appearing. I testify, they testify, the judge rules. They also run the risk of losing their license for their short-term rental if they're a repeat offender. So that's just one example of how somebody who decides they don't want to, shall we say, play nice, can be dealt with.
Thanks, Neil. I guess I'm just going to display my ignorance here about this whole topic. I assume that the county has ordinances that they have to do code enforcement on too.
Yes, they actually, I believe they do have a code enforcement officer. Yes.
So to what extent does that overlap with what we do? Is there any intersection or potential for?
I have seen no overlap as far as code enforcement within the city and county as far as working together. It's that jurisdictional inside the city limits we're addressing, outside the city limits, the county they're addressing.
Interesting.
I believe one area we coordinate is animal control, isn't it?
That is correct, sir.
Yeah, and we actually pay them animal control, but we're paying them for 40 hours a week. And we're a 24/7 operation police. So, we handle a lot of those. So, and that's a very minimal cost for housing them, the Hukari shelter.
So I guess my follow-up question is, how expensive is this code enforcement thing? Is there, it seems like it could be troublesome for sure.
The actual enforcement is a cost of an individual, really. And Marty, in my letter or my cover sheets, he does multiple things. This isn't the only thing he did. When we took on the responsibility of, he kind of does IT for our cars because it's evidence-based. So he does the evidence that he does code enforcement and parking as well. So really it's the cost of an individual. And I kind of always say, I give you the example, it's a lot like planning. There's such a process of, working with the people to make to the final end, whether that's a citation or compliance. So it really is time consuming in that processing, working with people.
So for the people that call you, do you think that they've actually looked at the code and are aware of the code and are basing their calls on that?
I think some people do know what the code is, but as far as the abandoned vehicle, there is a lot of those individuals, and it's the educational part where we go out there and explain to them, it's driving, it's operable. He or she did park it there for the week, but it's an operable vehicle. I do know that we were looking at Megan had posted some stuff in regards to snow on the sidewalk. That ordinance she quoted was actually not the right ordinances. There's one dealing with snow, gravel, and such on the sidewalks. So there can be those people that want to dive into our code and might not understand how it's actually read, and there's actually codes addressing the single issue they might be looking at. So, because we have the one she had quoted is it's if we have a unrepair or disrepair sidewalk that's broken or heating or something like that. That's what that one is. And then we have one actually for, gravel, debris, such like that for cleaning the sidewalks. So that's the one we would use.
And I noticed that we've made some social media posts with respect to that. And I think maybe that's an opportunity to clarify some of the stuff.
Thank you for noticing
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And several of you had good suggestions on what that social media messaging might include in order to reach people. So I appreciated your comments as well.
Yeah, we definitely thought about it, and we definitely talked about breaking it down more than this, instead of being so broad,
Sure.
narrowing these bullet point down to like specifically, this is what we need. So it has been spoken.
Yeah, and I agree with Megan's thought about the compliance thing. I appreciate that aspect of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, Tim, these get very expensive when we have to really go to the mat. And that's why just getting compliance is what we first, last, and always try and get, because it's a lot cheaper, it's a lot more effective, it's better for community relations. Going to mat is very expensive, especially if we have to contemplate city abatement of a nuisance, something like that. It's like, oh, you really don't want to expend public funds on a lot of these sites, but sometimes that's the only way to do it. And as Neil pointed out, a quick, brush cutting, sometimes that is the cheapest way. It kind of bypasses the whole court process, and we just show up with the weed whackers and it's done in half a day.
Excellent point.
We've had a couple that I can think of off the top of my head. One was an elderly gentleman who unfortunately has since passed away, and there were complaints on the vegetation for his property. And I got the Lions Club to volunteer and come out and help and clear the property. Another one on the west side of town, single mom, couldn't afford to keep up with the property. Another organization volunteered, came out, cleared the property for her and cleaned it up.
Yep, and during our last,
I don't think I've done it in this.
During our last snowstorm, I was looking at our snowy sidewalk and I had the flu, and I thought to myself, that's going to take a while. Sorry, Dan.
I haven't done it in this jurisdiction, but sometimes I've even had a city get a drop box delivered to load up a particular nuisance junk house as kind of the cheapest way to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, a great example is the park, on Wasco. I mean, we had Hood River Garbage. They stepped up to bat and allowed us that dumpster. I mean, they dropped it, said, when you're ready to pick it up, we'll be there. I mean, it was a great relationship there. We, as Public Works and such, we all were out there, but we got it done. And like Dan said, it's almost easier just to get her done and then move on. So,
Mark, did you have a question?
Thanks. I like this topic a lot, just as far as like, where are we going as Hood River grows, right? So at 5,000 people, it's one answer. And as there's more and more new residents and we have more and more neighborhoods, I feel like it's probably a different answer. But so even though I appreciate the human first thing, absolutely. And I like that you guys are doing that. I question whether we are thinking about what we need in 2 years or 5 years or 10 years when we pass 10,000 people. What are good models of how we should set up our enforcement stuff? That doesn't say anything bad about what we're doing. It says, where are we going and how do we anticipate if we're going to do anything different? So I see this as sort of the very first step, and I like it. But I'd like to sort of know, and maybe this is a thing for us at council to talk about, is like, what are the range of options for Hood River 2029, right? So is this what other towns of 10,000 people are doing? Where are we going to go with this? I think that there's also some opportunities to do cleanup of code that might be really simple. That the flow chart for cars is horrendously too much work for you guys, and it's a function of what the code is more than just being nice. I mean, registered letters and this and that and stuff. It's like, you know, so that might be something that council can prioritize to find some low hanging fruit and fix it. So so I think this is a great thing. I hope it's not the last of these studies, and that's something for us to talk about, I think. So thank you.
Mark, the one thing is on towing cars, state law dictates a lot of that process. That local governments lack the authority to just whip them off the street, that there is a lot of notice process required by state law. Your observations about the rest of it, though, is true that, you know, what you're going to see in 10 years is going to be more like Portland, where you have a whole staff of kind of code enforcement stormtroopers, and it's not so friendly. What you hear tonight is kind of a small city model of how it works, and it works for a city this size. It may not when you double.
Yeah, and I just don't have a sense of where that breaking point is, and I don't want to get to it where it's like, you know, where we're just hearing about, well, it's not a level playing field because so and so got away with having weeds growing under their car, and I can't park my car across the street from it or whatever. You know, I hear that stuff a lot, and so us being able to say, nope, this is how it works. It is level. It's, you know, these guys are working really hard to make sure that we're talking to people. That's what I want to be able to say, that kind of stuff all the time. And I just think we're going to evolve. I just don't know to what. So.
Yeah, when we do, you'll hear about it.
I'll just be the grumpy old guy that'll be coming to meetings every week, and yeah, that'll be the thing.
As long as you bring snacks. Yeah, I hear some of that same stuff, Mark, that you were talking about. You know, it seems like that car's been parked there for 5 years. It's like, well, no, it's actually been there for 12. You know, but you know, how come they can park there and we're not supposed to park and blah, blah, blah. So we all hear some of that. And it's like, well, have you ever reported it? Nobody's reported it. Apparently. You know, because if it's just by whoever complains that doesn't like it, that lives across the street, then you get used to it. And it's like, oh, well, whatever, you know, it's my neighbor that doesn't have funds to fix the vehicle, but it's an antique or whatever. And so you just let it go. But it's kind of, I don't know, it's exactly fair. If it's just by complaint only. And, you know, I've talked about the stop signs and some do get trimmed and some are like, oh, I don't want to cut my bush back. And I'm like, we cannot see around that thing. And I mean, I just want to take a lopper over there and cut it myself because I know what the process is that you have to go through in order to, you know, get that thing cut back, but it's dangerous. So it's, you know, okay, go to that stop sign, write that address down, call it in, go to the next one, call that one in. You know, that's what has to happen to make it, or you have to have enough time to drive around town and look for those all the time, which you don't. I mean, you just do not have that amount of time to spend on that. So I think Mark's right about looking at the future and trying to make it a little more even playing field, but you don't have the time or resources to do all that right now.
Yeah, I think, like Mark said, in the future, I think the city council will have to look at where they want to go with that and have a dedicated code enforcement officer. You know, really, like you say, it's a time sensitive, time suck position. And you're exactly right. I mean, right now he's balancing through 3 different job titles, you know, and code is one of them. So.
Other comments or questions? Greg?
I'll just share, I guess, a comment. I have no criticism at all. I just really think everything you guys are doing. I'll just express the reason I checked this as a priority after the discussion. I was thinking more about it. You touched on it right at the end, was sort of the land use enforcement issues. And maybe echoing a little bit of what Mark was saying, my concern for the future is as our scarce land is what it is. Property values are going up and up and up, and there's more, I hesitate to use the word, but I'll use it, more politics involved in terms of who gets to do what, where, and when. And sometimes there's little passing phrases in the code that are bound up with discretion that have the potential to become inside baseball and how they're applied. That's not an accusation at all, right? Great city. I'm just saying I want to avoid in the future as land gets more and more valuable and these land use decisions get to be closer and closer calls, that we have a really objective way of approaching that, because I just have this concern that I don't want Hunter to become inside baseball. I'm just saying, and I saw, or I had to see a risk in our enforcement over land use issues. If not handled appropriately in a community minded way, egalitarian way, you know, equity way, of becoming inside baseball. And I just don't want the river to ever become that. So that's why I checked the box for having this discussion. The stuff you guys are talking about is like the day-to-day things that weren't in my mind of being a concern because they're doing such a great job. But keeping our land use decisions out of inside baseball was my motivation to check this particular box at the point of discussion.
And Marty, correct me if I'm wrong, is it every Wednesday? Every Wednesday he does meet with that whole realm of group of individuals. They meet on Zoom and they go over projects and things occurring, code issues within the city. So, you know, that is hit every Wednesday with that group that he sits in on. I think it's 1 o'clock.
2:30.
2:30. Yeah. He sits
They
across
changed
from me, but I see his headset on. So it is good. He is linked into those and dealing with the issues that haven't been resolved yet. And how can Dustin help on his team with him as well? So there is some crossover on that. So
And Kevin Liberty and I, we've gone out to several sites and looked at them together to get resolution on items. So it's a team effort.
I'll just say thank you for providing this information. I appreciate the work and the people first, the approach to get understanding and compliance. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate the presentation, taking the time to compile everything.
thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you. You three will be stepping away. It has been great to have you. So maybe I should be stepping away shortly too, 26 years.
No. No. Absolutely not. All right, let's see where we are. All right, we're going to adjourn our work session and we'll open our regular council meeting. Agenda additions or corrections? Did you have anything?
No, there are
Abigail,
no-
okay, we're gonna, I want to change the order of what we're doing in regular council meeting. So we're gonna move just regular council call up to before mayor call. And then I'm gonna add an agenda item after the mayor section. And I'm going to call it the handing of the gavel. So we'll add that to at the very end of this. So we have a consent agenda. We have several things on there. Does anyone have any questions about anything on the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Well, second. Okay, Jessica has made the motion. Megan has made the second to approve it. I got that right. To approve the consent agenda. All those in favor? Aye. Abstentions? Nays? Chair votes aye. Okay, no regular business items. We do have 2 items for our city recorder.
Your Honor, I'd like to entertain a motion for the second and final reading of ordinance 2071 by title only.
So moved.
Nope. Who said that?
Megan.
Megan, okay.
Just really loud.
Megan has made the motion
I'll second.
and Tim has seconded that motion.
Counselor Haney.
Aye.
Counselor Saunders.
Yes.
Counselor Cunahan.
Aye.
Counselor Meta.
Aye.
Counselor Zanmiller.
Yes.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Ordinance 2071, an ordinance approving a quasi judicial zone change for from C1 office residential to C2 commercial, general commercial for a 0.46 acre parcel 3N 10E 25 CD tax lots 6501, 6502, and 6500. Columbia Gorge Capital LLC Lock Litwer with conditions to accommodate a mixed-use 33-unit multifamily development.
Mayor, can I just make a brief comment on that? I did vote no, but I think I was in the minority, so I joined as a yes, just to unify with the board.
Oh, okay, the last time you mean,
Yes,
Okay.
I'm voting yes in acknowledgement of the majority decision.
okay. Thank you.
Your Honor, I'd like to entertain a motion for the first reading of ordinance 2072 by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Megan has made the motion to approve reading of ordinance 2072, and Jessica has seconded that motion.
Counselor Zan Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Haney,
Yes.
Counselor Saunders,
Yes.
Counselor Coonihan,
Aye.
Counselor Meta,
Yes.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Ordinance 2072, an ordinance granting Lightspeed Network, Inc. a 10-year non-exclusive franchise to use, erect, and maintain its facilities in the city's public right-of-way, public agreement Lightspeed Network, Inc., an Oregon corporation. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, Jen. Okay, so now we will do council call. Does anyone have anything for council call?
Briefly, on with respect to the ODOT ACT committee meeting. We met last Monday and there were, I guess I could go on and on and on. I won't. I'll just say there were a lot of people leaving that committee, Chair Oates, John Davies, myself. So there is a bit of a moment for the local folks to make sure we collaborate and pass the baton on. And our once and future mayor and I are in touch about making sure we have a good transition with respect to that. The 24-27 ODOT STIP was passed at that meeting. And there are a few projects headed to the gorge in that range, but they're kind of just keeping the lights on. They're not anything from a policy perspective that's interesting at all. And it would be nice to try to change that if we can. I think that's swimming upstream, but in any event, we're going to get together and talk about that and make sure we have a baton passing. But Monday's meeting was largely saying goodbye to a long list of people who are transitioning out, including majority of the Hood River representatives, and talking about this STIP package.
Thanks, Eric. Anything, Jessica?
Well, I was gonna speechify a little bit.
Okay, we're gonna do speechifying on
Are we gonna do it?
at the end. Yeah.
Okay.
This is just kind of
Well, this is-
regular business,
right.
regular. I wanted to try and get the regular business out of the way.
Well, I know the bridge folks are looking for, because I was the alternate. And so I said that then council would talk about that in January.
Great. And I also, along that, the Bi-State Working Group, I've been in touch with Abigail and Paul about, future, when those next meetings are and getting that figured out. So everybody's got it on their radar. I think they've got 4 more meetings already set up for January for Bi-State Working Group. And Dan, are you still on the phone call? Oh, yes. Okay, great.
Yes.
I owe you,
I'm still-
I owe you an email or a phone call on that Bi-State Working Group commission formation agreement. So I'll get a hold of you.
Okay, I'll be around until Thursday morning.
Okay, I'll try and do it tomorrow or the next day.
Okay.
Thanks. I don't have anything. Mark?
Yeah, I think with the few letters we've gotten and Megan Ramey, bringing stuff up, there are some valuable points in there that I think that we can find some things to do. Mostly I've been thinking about just education and how do we get the word out to people about whether it's parking or snow removal or watching out for kids when they're walking on the road or whatever. And when it snows, it's just a good reminder of that is in play at the time. So maybe this is a work session brainstorm about what are the low hanging fruit that we can do, early, waiting till May to talk about snow is probably not the best thing to do, but as time allows, we should have some sessions to see if there is some stuff we can do quickly. That's all I got.
Good thoughts, Mark. Anything else? No? Okay. So then we'll do mayor call. So mayor call, we have Urban Renewal Advisory Committee appointments. So let's see. Who did those interviews?
I think Justin and Gladys and I did them, and I'm the only one present of the
Okay,
three.
so
So
you-
I'm
so
gonna,
you can
I
go-
guess I'm gonna present this.
Okay, great. Thanks.
I was
Thanks.
doing the math suddenly going, oh, it's me.
Oh,
Uh,
me.
So yeah, so I mean, obviously the packet included everyone's application, but Justin, Gladys and I interviewed all 6 candidates. It's always the challenge where you're like, oh, we have 6 good candidates, which is wonderful, and then makes the decision very hard. So for folks that are listening, or certainly as we talk to folks after this meeting about who did and didn't get it, I want to thank all of them for applying, and I want to make sure that they continue to engage with the city and the urban renewal process, even if they don't get appointed at this time. But yeah, so I already said this, but it was a challenging decision, but we did come to consensus. All 3 of us agreed on the recommended slate of candidates. Really quickly repeating some of what's in the staff report, but Abby has been on Urban Renewal Advisory Committee. She's been doing a good job. I think we all thought that having that history with the projects, knowing the process, knowing the advisory committee was really valuable. And then the other 2 was kind of adding in some diversity of location and interest. So we're starting to bring in some West Side interests instead of just a very heights focused advisory committee. We felt that was valuable. I'm going to mix up their names because I haven't looked at it in a few days, but yeah, so the 2 new folks, Jeff and Travis, one brings a lot of planning expertise, experience with advisory committees in general, experience with urban renewal. The other one, also experience with urban renewal, and then public-private partnerships, all of which we thought was going to be valuable insight as we move forward, both on the Heights and definitely on the West Side. I'm happy to answer any questions though.
I'll just say that it'd be nice, I mean, maybe we do this already, but Pat McAllister had been on the URAC for a long time, so it'd be nice to send him a thank you card.
I would agree with that.
I came to the Urban Renewal Advisory Committee meeting this week, and the city gave he and Josh, they were both retiring, so to speak, a mug, a water bottle from the city. And I got up and did a little thank you and kind of talked about, well, especially about Pat's history and helping on the budget committee and thanking you for all his years helping the city on these different committees. So I did come down and do a personal thank you.
Thank you. Box check.
Thank you, Kate, Abigail. I'm assuming Jen. Yes, thank you, Jen.
But no, I'm good with the recommendations. Thank you for doing all of those interviews. It's hard to make a decision.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I know, I mean, Abby, we've seen her on the committee before, and I know Jeff from when he used to live in Hood River years and years ago. He was on the county planning, in the planning department in the county, yeah. So I know him a little bit, but it's been 30 years maybe. I don't know how long he's been gone, a long time. So
I have a
Go ahead,
question. Thanks Megan and Gladys and Dustin for doing that. I think this process is working pretty nice. I'm glad how we're doing it. A question for staff, and it relates to Megan's thing of we have really good candidates. How do we keep the 3 that we didn't pick to be on a short list kind of thing, or at least know, someone should reach out to them and express that, this doesn't mean we want you to go away. We want, hopefully we'll find a place for you in the future, because Because I liked all their applications actually, so setting the hook somehow would be great.
Thank you, Counselor. I'll just comment quickly that.
Yeah, go ahead.
That has, I think, been our practice in the last year has been if there's someone kind of in reserve, if a vacancy comes up, we go to those folks first and see if there's still an interest before we open it back up to the general public.
All right, so I guess the appointments, well, it's a whole group appointment. It's not just a mayor appointment. Or maybe I appoint with.
We have a motion. I don't know if it's.
Oh,
right,
okay, let's
but
go ahead.
I'll do that. I move to appoint Abby Capavilla, Jeff Hunt, and Travis Dillard to the Urban Renewal Advisory Committee.
Second.
Megan's made a motion and Jessica has seconded to appoint Abby Capavilla, Jeff Hunt, and Travis Dillard to the Urban Renewal Advisory Committee. Additional discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Chair votes aye. All right, great. Oh, here's my favorite part. Okay, you guys. It's our last council meeting. Woohoo! All right, I have to get up. Not that long. I'm quick. All right.
Is she gonna dance?
All right, am I on here? All right, I get to start out this shindig here. So Eric, I got you. Yay. Thank you, Eric, for jumping into the hornet's nest of public service. Sometimes we go along without too much stirring of the nest. And other times I know it felt like you were dodging and swatting away those stingers at contentious meetings. But I have to say that you always brought your well thought out opinion that occasionally was contrary to the majority, but I really appreciated you being able to make your case in a rational and organized way. It is always good to have a variety of ways to look at a subject, and it keeps us all aware of the diversity of ideas in our community. It has been very much appreciated. You helped to make a case for the city and county's transportation and roads on a committee that I am sure you felt like you were a guppy swimming with whales at ODOT's Area Commission on Transportation for Region 1. You also spent time in the committee to review and make recommendations for changes to the Hood River City's use of force. You brought Sheriff McGill to present to our council about region-wide work to stop the revolving door for our houseless community and need for mental and substance abuse intervention. We want to thank you so much for all your time on these committees or doing your nonprofit work, plus showing up at public events, interviewing planning commission candidates, and recapping our council meetings. I know your public service is not ending. It is continuing as you donate a lot of your time to numerous nonprofits and the school board, and I hope you will be able to spend a bit more time playing music for your own pleasure, but also so the community can continue to enjoy your talents. Thanks so much, Eric. Appreciate it. Got to get a picture here. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Well, hi, Jessica. You're next. And I'm afraid I'm not quite as good a public speaker as the mayor. I am taller though. So Jessica, we really wanted to thank you for your 4 years of service to the city and this community. Really appreciated your perspective and expertise, especially, economic development, business operations, regional partnership building, and personnel management. You've been hardworking, thoughtful, caring, and incredibly kind. And we're really going to miss you. But we do look forward to working with you through McEd in the future. So we know we'll see you again. So thank you, and please come down. Jessica?
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute here. Oh.
Okay, and then Mark, I'm your hands, but you're up.
All right. Well, I wish I was there. Eric and Jessica, it's been a joy to work with you and be on council with you. And I'm sad that's ending. But I want to say just a couple of words about you, Kate. I am proud and honored to have worked with you on council for over a decade. We've been doing this, and you've given so much to our community, and both with city stuff and just general civic involvement that I think that you are an embodiment of an example of what we hope from our citizens, and whether it was you helping with Children Park 1 all those years ago, as a planning commissioner for years and years and years, and I think that you've actually become addicted to the rigors of planning applications. So I think there's a 12-step program for that, but we'll have to see. As a counselor and a mayor for more than 10 years, doing it on the Bridge Committee, doing on the Houseless Collaborative, a champion of the housing stuff that we've been working so hard on from the very, very beginning. Being a steady voice for, fiscal conservative, how to run the city kind of thing. That you've been a rock as far as that, and that helps set the tone for all of us. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And then there was a waterfront overlay thing, and there was the parking committee, and there were these committees and that. Just throughout, it's your willingness and enjoyment of being on these committees has been so fun to watch. So for these and many other things that you've collaborated with, thank you, Kate, for being part of this. So now, where's the cake?
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark.
Hey, step the other way. You got to get me in the picture. No, I'm just kidding.
So about a month ago, I saw on Instagram, the local children's swim teacher was needing teachers. And I am now starting second week of January, teaching swimming to 4 to 6-year-olds 2 days a week. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons at Little Splashes. So I've got my fingerprinting that I have to get done tomorrow. And then I have to take refresher CPR and first aid in first part of January. But I'm excited. I went and watched one class, and I've seen a couple before in the past, but I'm excited. I think it's going to be fun. So working I don't know how cooperative they'll be, but I think it'll be, will work well, just about like this group does. So I think it'll work out. So I'm excited. Boy, it's been a crazy run, 19 years. It's going to feel really weird Monday nights to be at home. It really will be
We're on
odd.
TV, so.
Yeah. First, what was it? What were we? First and third for planning commission and then second and fourth. So it's always Monday nights I was on for something, it seems like, but it's all good. We have great replacements and that'll all be good. Speaking of replacements.
Wait a minute, I didn't get to do my.
Oh, all right. Now.
I
You got
just want to
something.
say thank you to my fellow counselors and my mayors, first Mayor Blackburn and then Mayor McBride, for your experience and teaching me in this role. I'm to the dedicated, amazing city staff, Leonard, Chief Holste, Dustin and Rich, Monica and Abigail, of course, who work every day as the definition of service, and to my family, who I noted clung to me crying even today that I would leave for a city council meeting, even though I was like, this is the last one. Come on, guys. So eventually they did let go and they were very supportive. So thank you to my family. And I love this town, which is why I ran, and I still do. And I'm looking forward to other opportunities to give back.
Thanks, Jessica. Anyone else would? No?
Just a few words, Your Honor. No.
Oh, boy, how many pages? Oh, my God.
No, that's kidding. Well, I really do believe we have a special community in Hood River. I had the great fortune to grow up here. My father served on council. It's just been an honor for me to serve on council. And, we should never try to be, or no one wants to be East Gresham. We have our own way of doing things, and we just know each other. We care for each other as a community, and that abstract sense is what drew me to want to be part of council, to just keep that special sense of community maintained and alive here in our town. We mind the public square is what we really come here every Monday to do, and sometimes it's incredibly boring. I remember recently we all laughed because we voted to change the name of one of the streets. That was sort of just funny, but some of the things we do aren't that glamorous, but they're just so important. I mean, and it's not really us, but it's us helping shine the way for these great parts of our organization, from the police to the fire to the water treatment facility, just foundational to society. It's just been my honor to be part of that. I have not done nearly as many years as the mayor, but 4 years is a long time for me anyway. Sometimes the days are long, but the years are short, and my 4 years have come and gone. And I know that someone else will stand in here and do just a wonderful job. So I might be back in the future. I might not, I'm not sure, but I'll still be involved in other ways, part of the Rotary Club. I am a member of the school board at Horizon Christian School, and will continue to volunteer in the nonprofit world. And I said it before, I'll say it again. If I can be of assistance to the community in any way, that touching on any skill set I might have, it'd be my honor to do that. And I just have a great pride in the city of Hood River, and it's been my pleasure to serve.
Tim?
Well, I'm not going to speechify so much, but just say, Eric, thank you. It's been a pleasure working with you over these past 4 years. I've really valued your opinion. Jessica, yeah, same to you. It's just not been over the past 4 years, but from the whole time that I've known you, it's just, your service is just astounding to this community. Kate, I do want to relay the first time I ever saw Kate. Hadn't met her or anything. I came to a meeting here when it was about Walmart. And it was one of these really packed rooms, really contentious. And I remember that they invoked the rule of necessity. And I watched Kate get up there and, do her thing. And I thought to myself, wow, that is one cool cucumber. So it's really, for me to actually have worked with you, it's certainly my honor. Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't get to say anything about you, Eric.
Oh, no, it's okay. Megan did.
No,
Megan-
well, I know she did, but I got to say a lot about Eric. And so, but I just want to say it's been a pleasure to work with you and always professional. And that's what strikes me, always professional. Just thoughtful and professional. I appreciate it so much.
Well,
Yeah.
on that, I was letting Mark and Kate say thank you to, well, yes, Kate and Eric, but but I'll miss having you all on here and it's been great. So thank you.
Yeah, I've had a great, however many years it's been, but I've always appreciated, all the council people and all the planning commission people, along with the staff. That just everybody's been very professional. We've had a few contentious moments like the Walmart hearing, to Luba and back, other issues that way too, but that's kind of how the whole process works. And I have always tried to keep a even cool head here, and I get home and my husband will be like, "Oh, you're really wound up tonight." Yep. It's important to try and keep your cool as much as you can, to portray professionalism and for the public. I think that goes a long way in the end. So thank you, everyone, for working with me. Appreciate it. All right, now the gavel. Is there a gavel here? Uh-oh.
The big one.
All right. We have no script, Paul. We can do whatever we like.
Don't hit him with it.
All right, Mike.
Here, there you
Something you said really resonated with me, which is it's really important that our system works. I mean, never before in American history, maybe have we observed how important it is that there is a system and the system works. And so calling you your honor and calling me my honor is not about you and me. It's about the system that the folks all voted for who they want to hold the gavel, and mayor, your honor, Madam Mayor, like that's a real thing. And to keep the system intact and honorable is our sacred charge. So
Yeah.
Thanks for your service.
Thank you. And here is the gavel symbolically being passed to Paul, from Paul to me and back to Paul.
Yes, back.
Well, no, you're supposed to bury me in on.
Yeah. When I will remember Robert's Rules of Orders for you that I have at home.
Oh, the book.
The
Okay.
book, and I will bring that next time for
Fun.
the symbolic
Wonderful.
changing of that.
Great.
And I've always, I guess I have to say, I've never meant any disrespect by not calling you Counselor so-and-so and Counselor so-and-so. I have gotten to know you so well by first name, and I've always had this thing in my head since I was this tall that I felt like everyone was equal when we got to use our first names. No one was more honorable or less honorable than somebody else. And that, in my personal opinion, was that we were all equal. Everyone had one vote and everyone got to have their say. And that is how I respected you by calling you by your first name. I hope it was not an insult to anyone to do that, but that's
Definitely not.
that's how, and I should have said this a long time ago. I'm going to call you by your first name. It's an honor for me to do that, to know you that well.
Fun working with you guys. Look forward to keep working with some of you guys.
All right. So I think our last step is we'll need to officially adjourn the meeting. Then I'm gonna pull you all together for some photos and then we have some cake.
I wish I was there. Congrats.
Oh, wish you were here,
everybody.
Mark. All right, it is 7:35 and December 19th, 2022. This is it. Adjourned.